It's time again for another installment of the basics, and on today's show I'm going back to the Star Trek CCG and I'm doing a second part about doorways. Now, I did an episode a little while back showing some of the initial doorways and how they work and how to use them, and this is a follow-up where I'm going to show you maybe some doorways that didn't make it onto the show as of yet and explain a little bit about them. Let's get started. Now, if you've watched this show for any length of time, you've seen me do an episode on doorways, and you've seen me talk about different doorways in other episodes depending on what they were related to. Today's show, I'm going to get to some doorways I may or may not have shown on other episodes and go into a bit more detail. So, let's start with Transwarp Network Gateway. This is a cool doorway that came out in First Contact and later reprinted in the Voyager set. You can seed it during the facility phase, which is part of the seed phase, and then you would play a second one from your hand at any given time to connect them. You may also play Transwarp Conduit if that helps you, or another copy of this doorway to make it work, or you can download a Transwarp Conduit and discard the doorway. It's a very useful card. It's a must for any Borg deck. As I've mentioned before, Borg decks, you should have 3 to 5 of these in there. Temporal Vortex plays on a time location. While in play, any ships may time travel between here and corresponding spaceline location. This is dependent on you having time locations in your deck, like the Missile Silo in 2063 or what have you. Or it suspends play while you place the doorway on a Borg ship, Dilemma, or the Shellyak. Or plays on table. While in play, nullifies distortion of space-time continuum, or relocates one of your ships at a time location to spaceline location of opponent's choice. It's a mixed bag, but also very useful. The Guardian of Forever mainly deals with time locations, plays on planet gateway. Once per turn, one or more personnel present may time travel to a time location in this quadrant or may return here from there. Or plays once each turn to nullify any card that is closing Guardian, or to draw up to 4 cards if your archaeology or anthropology personnel just time travel back to Guardian, and then the doorway goes out of play. Temporal Micro Wormhole. I'm not sure if I've actually used this in gameplay. I don't think so. Seeds or plays on table. Your AU personnel and equipment cards may report for duty. Once per game, you may download Space-Time Portal or download Dr. Talek Ramor. If you recall, that is the Romulan scientist from the past that Voyager encountered through the micro wormhole. Launch portal. This is mainly due in regards to small craft. Doesn't necessarily pertain just to Borg ships. This card literally suspends the play while you download Engage Shuttle Operations or Escape Pod. You can download one scout ship, shuttle, or Borg sphere, and you can launch any or all of your carried ships with crew. So basically, instead of picking a spot to launch your ships, your small craft from your main ships, this actually stops the game dead on both sides and let you do that. And of course, you would discard the doorway after use, or you can place it on top of an Engaged Shuttle Operations card to prevent the event from being nullified. So that can be very useful if you have a lot of shuttle operations to conduct. Holding cell door, this is mainly if you have sites. There were a few extra doorways that came out for DS9 in regards to sites. Seeds during facility phase or plays on your ship or facility except Anor. Adds a brig or downloads brainwash, interrogation, or torture to a captive in your brig. If you have Tal Shiar, Obsidian Order, Resistance, or Section 31 present, discard doorway and place atop your draw deck. Or you can nullify any card closing another holding cell door and you can just discard the doorway. Useful if it's a site or a deck dealing with interrogations or detaining people, or even stasis to a certain extent. Space door. Seeds on your outpost during the outpost phase. Space door is now open, reducing outpost shields by 8. It's cumulative. You can overhaul your ships. You can nullify any static warp bubble affecting you, or you can download one space dock or a universal ship that is compatible with the outpost. Then you flip it over, because remember, it's a double-sided card. Space door is now closed, no longer reduces shields, and immune to cards which close doorways. Interesting. While opponent has red alert in play, this outpost is also on alert status, and you may use that event's game text at this outpost. At any of your turns, the end, you may reopen, flip over the space door by discarding any card from your hand. So it is a great pair for repairing ships or using with the combination of Red Alert. It gives you a bit of leeway. I've used these before. It helps to a certain extent. I switch it up though. I don't always put these in my decks because I find sometimes they're a boon to a lot of decks, especially if you have too many ships. And finally, the Ready Room door. This one is simple, one of my more favorite doorways. And I have a couple of these in my Federation deck that I've been putting in and taking out and experimenting with. Once per turn, place to download to one of your ships its matching commander, and you draw no cards this turn. Or download one captain's order, captain's log, lower decks, yellow alert, senior staff meeting, or any cards so marked. After use, discard the doorway. I like that card mainly because as someone who has 2 or 3 decks that have matching commanders for ships, I can quickly download one of the cards I need to quickly beef that ship up and get it moving down the space line with extra enhancements. And that's very important in the game. Now, that being said, as I've mentioned on previous episodes that deal with doorways, you need to tailor them to the deck. You just don't grab a bunch of doorways and go, oh, that looks cool, that's going to work, and shove it in the deck. Doorways need to be tailored to decks, unless it's something like an alternate universe door or a space-time portal that comes in handy regardless because of what it lets you do. Those are more generic doorways. Almost every other doorway needs to be tailored to the deck. It's that simple. Have a great day, everybody.